Bill Platt here, and I'd like to thank you for your interest in the kdresearch.com program. I just wanted to give you a quick video walkthrough of what you'll find within the website, and so you can see whether it's something you might like to give membership to for yourself as well. This was designed for book authors to do the book research they need to figure out if their books are in the right categories within the Amazon ecosphere. And I'm going to start out, I'm going to take you inside the website, and I'm going to start this page right here because it shows the most up-to-date record on how many categories are in each tree. So within the Kindle category tree, right here, there are 5,602 subdirectories. It's even more overwhelming when you look at the print books. There's 14,317 print book subcategories within Amazon. And if you're like me, and I'll admit it, I'm a little bit on the lazy side, when I go to upload a book to Kindle, I get into the Amazon directory tree and start looking for a book that's appropriate for my particular title, and I search until I find one that is fairly close, one category that's fairly close to where I think my book should be placed, and then I select that one and then I go. Now normally that's the way I do things, and the reason is because it takes a lot of time to do category research unless you're using a tool like this. Now a buddy of mine a couple of years ago, about 18 months ago, and this guy, when he talks about the right category, I listen because he does all the appropriate research to figure out which category is best for our books. And he will spend 5 to 6 to 7 hours researching particular categories for particular books. And when he contacted me and he said, "Bill, your book is in the wrong category. You need to move it to this category." When he told me that, I listened. And here's the thing. I changed the category, hit publish. It took about 4 or 5 hours for it to propagate through the Amazon system, and then suddenly I started seeing book sales on that particular book. And the reason why is because in the first category I selected, I was not talking to the people who were most interested in buying my book. I was talking to people who were less interested in buying my book. And when he told me to move the category, he moved me into a category where my target audience resides, where my target audience is looking for books like what I'd written. So therefore now with a new category, I am available for the people who want to buy my book. See how that makes a difference? And I'm going to show you more examples of that as we get into this video. But I've basically got 3 tools built into this. One is the Amazon Kindle ebook category search. I've also got the print book category search, and then I've got the required keyword search, and that's going to require its own special section, so I'm going to talk about that again in a minute. But with the Amazon Kindle categories, the last update to this database is July 17th of 2017, which today is the 19th, which is 48 hours ago. And I do intend on updating these databases every 30 days because, frankly, Amazon is always changing their book tree and adding more categories to our selection. So as they add more categories, we want to find more opportunity to promote our books within those categories. So I will be updating the database every 30 days. Now, the way the tool works is you select your keyword, and I'm going to go with thriller. And then we've got our global search, and then we've got subcategory only, and then subcategory path only. And basically the way that breaks down is subcategory is the category where your book is now, and the path is how somebody would navigate to find the subcategory. But I'm going to go ahead and do a search here real quick. And it's just lightning quick results. We've already got the results. And within Thriller, there are 66 results. 66 different categories that could apply to our thriller book. So I'm going to scroll back up here to the top and show you how that breaks down a little bit. And so maybe I've got an assassination in my book. So maybe assassinations is where I want to place my book. So I go ahead and click on it. We don't have to right click, it just automatically loads up into the appropriate category. And then we can scroll down and see which books are within this category. And what we're looking for is, does my book fit here? What's my competition look like? Do I want to compete with Brad Thor with my book? And in part, it's what does the competition look like, but also, is this where my type of book will be found? And is this the right category for my book? So we're doing our research from this point right here. Now, maybe I decide that's not the right category. Maybe I want to look at conspiracies. And then I just click that, and then it opens up conspiracy books that I can compare and run my questions by. Is this the right category for my book? Is my competition something I think I can actually compete with? So you're going through all these questions in your mind looking for the right category for your book. And then maybe I decide espionage might be a better one, so I can come in here and look at espionage books and figure out, okay, does my book fit better here? Am I going to be talking to the right audience when I put my book into this category? And that's the important thing, you know. You want to talk to the people who are buying books that are similar to your own books, okay? Now, you can also come over here and click on the parent category and click on that, and it's going to open up and show you what the parent category looks like, okay? So all this is built into this tool, and the major thing here, all these things that you get through this tool, you can get on Amazon if you're willing to spend more time. And frankly, I'm not willing to spend more time. My buddy, he spends more time. He digs through all these categories looking for the best place to place his book. But with this knocks down a lot of that navigation. What takes so much time when we're doing research on Amazon is we have to go to the category and then navigate down and look for the subcategory and then go there and click that and then wait for the new page to load, and then maybe these are right, maybe we want to compare a different title, and then we scroll down to the bottom of the title and see what category he's in, and then pop over there, and it takes a whole lot of time to kind of navigate through the Amazon directory tree to find out where our books are most appropriately positioned. With this tool, it's a click away. We put in our keyword and it gives us back the categories that may be appropriate for our book, okay? And like I said, the subcategory only and subcategory path, let me look at the path only just so you can see what it does. And so it shows everything that has thriller over in parent categories, but not necessarily in the category name. So now we've narrowed that list down from 66 to 45, okay? And let me scroll back up. Now, with the print books, it's the same way. It works exactly the same way. The last update on this was done yesterday. I am not confident with the record count. In part, there's two things that is wrong with this. I think the record count is a little bit low, but we have looked, and we haven't found any missing categories yet. The second issue was that when I was showing you in that previous page where the parent categories were all linked, that is broken in my last update, so I'm recrawling today to make that accurate, but as best we can tell, it's not missing categories, but all the links don't work. So if I go into print and then I select thriller and do a search, you'll see that not all the parent categories have links on them. And so I'm getting that fixed for you today, and I should have that live by the 20th. And then also we've got the required keyword search tool. With the keyword search tool, we can select by USA and UK or USA only. And let me go ahead and click on one of these so I can show you exactly what's going on here. Inside Amazon, I just discovered this last week, frankly, but Amazon has some requirements to get into certain categories with your book. You have to use certain keywords in the keyword slot. Now, on Kindle, you have 7 keywords you can put in there, and then on CreateSpace, you have 5 keywords you can put in there, and that's technically for search, quote, air quote, search. And I've never really used it. I've never really given it much thought, honestly, because I've never seen a connection between what I type into the keyword box and what comes up in keyword search on Amazon. So I figured it was just extraneous information they didn't really use. And then I discovered last week they really do use it. And this is how they use it. This is one of the ways in which they use that keyword data. So in order to be placed into the erotica, action and adventure category, you must include one of the 3 following keywords. You must do either action, adventure, or pulp, and one of those 3 keywords must be in your keyword list in order for your book to be considered for action and adventure under erotica. Now, there are 702 categories that are affected this way, so it's not a small number. And you can find the information on Amazon if you're willing to spend the time to look for it. And then when you find it, it's scattered, all the keyword information scattered over like 12 pages. So what I did is I gathered all that information and put into this one window so that we can come in here and search for it quickly and find out what's happening with a particular category. Now here's the deal. Like with BDSM, if you're not familiar, BDSM actually means bondage and discipline, dominance and submission, and sadomasochism. So you would think, if, say for example, you've written a erotica book on BDSM where your keywords that you chose were dominant and submissive, which are 2 keywords for that type of role play. And then other people will say dom and sub, which are just shortened versions of dominant and submissive. And here's the deal. If you're trying to get your book into erotica BDSM, you can only get into that category if you use one of these 5 keywords. And you'll notice BDSM, bondage, sadism, masochism, and submission, and none of the keywords I just listed fit within that framework. So if you used dominant and submissive as your keywords, then you're not getting into the BDSM category, even though yours is a BDSM book. If you put dom and sub as your keywords, you're still not getting into BDSM category, even though your book is about BDSM. So it's important to come in here and check the nuances of what keywords Amazon requires for you to use in order to get your books into certain categories. And like I said, there are 702 categories affected by stuff like this. And in some cases it makes perfect sense. With action and adventure, you put in action and adventure. With BDSM, as long as you include the BDSM, you're cool. But then there's other ones, like I noticed in paranormal romance the other day. If you've got paranormal book, and I don't think it's paranormal romance, just paranormal. If you've got shapeshifter paranormal, and you include the word shapeshifter, you're still not getting into that category. You have to use shifter by itself without the shape in front of it. So your book is about a shapeshifter, but unless you include the keyword shifter, you're not getting into that category. So that's why it's important to have this information available, and as a time-saving mechanism, all the information is loaded right here, and you just pull up your keyword and find your category and check the required keywords for your category to make sure that you're doing everything required to get your book into a particular category. So that is the tools. That's a breakdown of the tools and how we use them. But let me go real quick. I want to show you one more example. So if you do superhero, and I did this the first time, and I was shocked that there's no results for that. But with Amazon, they treat superhero is one word and not two words like I did. So under one word superhero, I have 7 categories. Now, on initial look, I would say Kindle categories teen and young adult and superheroes. If I've got a storybook about superheroes, it's not illustrated, it's not comic book, because we got comics down here, right? So I think that this would be the right category to place my book. So then I get into this category and I start looking around, and the one thing that really jumps out at me is all these are illustrated books. So if I've got a storybook that doesn't have any illustrations in it, and I put my book in this category, my book's going to disappear. Because honestly, it's in the category, but the people in this category don't buy storybooks without pictures. They buy storybooks with pictures. So unless my book has illustrations in it, they're not going to be buying my book. So it doesn't matter if I'm in a category that looks right. I'm definitely not in the right category for just a storybook without illustrations. A non-illustrated storybook. So if I put my storybook in here, all the people in this category, all the people looking at this category are going to ignore my book because it's not an illustrated book. And the people who would buy my book aren't in this category because they're not looking for illustrated books. So that is it kind of narrows down really quick why it's important to get into the right category. So let me try this one. Let me see what kind of books are in this one, and guess what? This is where all the stories are. So this category, under the science and, science fiction and fantasy, is where I'm going to want to place my storybook. So very literally, with that one example I showed you, that teen and young adults, not where you're placing your superhero storybook, non-illustrated storybook, but rather it's under science fiction and fantasy. So that's the distinction you need to make when you're doing your research. You come in here and you find out this is the right category for my book, and then when you upload to Amazon, you're putting it in the right category from day one instead of waiting until your book's been out there for a year not making any money. And this is why this tool is important. And my buddy who does the manual research, and he spends 5, 6, 7 hours to do manual research with this tool, I'm cutting down 90% of his actual search time because he's not having to navigate through Amazon to find all these subcategories. They're loaded up in a split second right here within the kdresearch.com website. So I hope you found this interesting. I hope you found it useful. And if you discover that this looks like something that could help you as a book author, scroll down to the bottom of the page and select your membership option. I am Bill Platt. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time.